Science Beetle.
All right, so welcome back. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about the print function. The print function is actually a very useful function that is used to display things for the user to see, to read. It displays it to something known as the shell if you're using an online compiler like we're doing here, or if you're using a IDE, an integrated development environment, or a text editor, the print command will actually print everything to the screen where the user, the one who is actually using the program that you're going to be creating here, they'll be able to see whatever you tell the compiler to actually put out onto the screen for them to look at. And so the print function allows a little bit of interaction between you and your user. And so let's see how that works. So here, let's go ahead and on the program side, let's go ahead and create a print function here. And the print function kind of looks like this. And so the first part here that's identified orange, the orange part is telling the compiler, you're going to put whatever comes in the next sequence inside these parentheses, whatever I put in there, you're going to go ahead and print that to the screen for the user to read. And so, for example, let's say that I declared a greeting. I'm preparing a message for the user. Let's say I call the variable greeting, and let's say that I say equals. And if I'm going to put this in terms of a statement for the user, that's going to show up as a string. Now, remember what I had shared before. Strings are always put in double quotes. So if you start in double quotes, you end in double quotes. If you start in single quotes, you want to end in single quotes. So here we'll do the double quote version, and we will say, hello, period, enter your name. Okay? Or we can just simply say, hello, comma, how are you? Question mark, and we'll close it off with the double quotes at the very end. Now, as long as I leave it like this, if I don't include the print function and we run that, nothing will happen. But if I come back over here to the code side and write the print function, and I put the parentheses and run it like this without putting the greeting variable inside the parentheses, I'm going to get no message kind of displayed, because essentially the print function doesn't have anything to put in there. So whatever comes inside the parentheses, that is the specific line item or the code or the function you're telling the compiler, put this on the screen for the user to see. And so since I haven't put anything in here, the compiler's not going to do anything. But if I come in here and I actually put greeting in here and then run the code again, you're going to see that this message in green, hello, how are you, is going to be displayed in the shell or in the console. And you can see there it is. So it could be anything in there. Let's say we can say that we have a second greeting, and let's call that greeting number 2. We can also replace that with maybe single quote version this time. Are you well? And maybe we're putting a question mark. And so here I would come into the print function, and instead of leaving it like that, I would put a 2 afterwards and then run the code. And you can see that the statement, are you well, is displayed. So the print function then allows us to do all kinds of sharing to the screen. What I want to show you now is show you what it looks like if you're displaying some numbers to the screen. So let's go ahead and do that now. So let's go back and use our mathematical version of x. We'll do x is equal to 32. Let's go ahead and give it a space here. And then we'll give ourselves a couple of lines, and then we'll put the print function. And inside the parentheses, we're going to put the value of x. So what's going to happen here is that this value x that we made a declaration in line 2, where when we gave it that assignment of 32 in line 2, all we need to do is put the variable name. In this case, that variable name is x. As long as we put the x inside the parentheses, the compiler knows that whatever the value that I assign for x, that's what I'm going to put on the screen. It's not going to print out x. It's actually printing out the value of x. In this case, 32. So let's go ahead and click run, and we'll see what the result is. And notice that it was displayed as a 32. Okay. And so we could do the same thing. If we went z, and here we put 999, we would put a value of, let's do that here. Actually, I'm glad I did this here, because if I put the x here, what do you think is going to be the displayed number? Let me give you a second to think about that. All right, so if I press run, you're actually going to wind up getting 999. And the question is, why? Well, the reason is because in line number 2, we made the declaration and assignment of the value of 32 for variable x. But in line number 3, we made another assignment of 999 for the same variable. So the way it works in Python is it'll read the code beginning at line 1 all the way down to whatever many lines of code you have. And in making that assignment, it will look for the most recent assignment for any given value. So in this case, since line 2 came before line 3, the old value that was declared and assigned in line 2, which is 32, that value was replaced by the newest declaration and assignment in line 3 for the variable x, which means that the most recent variable assignment for x is going to be 999, and that's the one that's going to be replaced and displayed onto the screen when the function is called in line number 7. So that's actually a good little thing that happened there. Okay, and so if I were to change this then to z here, a completely different variable, notice I still left the x inside the function in line 7. When I run it, now we'll see that the number assigned in line 2 is displayed, and that's number 32. If I change in line 7, go back and change x to a z, I should see 999 displayed, and that's exactly what we see. So in this lesson, what we saw is that if we use the print command can be used to display messages, strings, numbers, values over to the user to see on the console or on their screen. And we also learned that the order at which a variable is indicated in the program will have a bearing in terms of what is actually displayed if a variable is used in a print function. The most recent declaration and assignment of a variable is the one that gets reported. Any value assigned to a variable that occurred earlier in the code will get replaced by any declaration and assignment of that same variable later in the code. And that's something to remember as you're typing in here in your program. You want to make sure that if you write a variable again, just be aware that it might be overwritten and the old value that you had for it will be replaced. And so with those things in mind, in the next lesson, join us when we explore a little bit more about the different types of data that we can use, a little bit closer look. See you then.